Will, that was exciting. I'd say probably more emotional than anything for just Luka. Uh, this is the Jello Jiggling podcast. I'm your host Ryan Ward, and that was really cool. I mean, seeing the side of Luka Doncic that I don't think that we've seen. As well, I guess on the Lakers side of things, from a Lakers fans perspective, media perspective, whatever. We see a ruthless kind of killer on the court, and we see a really kind of soft-spoken sweetheart, for lack of a better word, off the court, who doesn't really like to talk too much. You know what I mean? Gives you one sentence, two sentence tops, and just kind of gets to the point. Doesn't elaborate too much. Um, just kind of a Jekyll and Hyde guy. You know what I mean? Like on the court, he's this crazy, basketball savant, and then he's off of it. He's, just not what you would expect. But in this game, I mean, he admittedly said more than once that this is going to be an emotional night. He doesn't know how he's going to react to it. He doesn't know what it's going to be like. Um, and the fact that it was kind of an ESPN emotion or promotional thing all day long, and like the days leading up to this, and then they doing all their things, ahead of the game, and then Dallas, did some shady stuff before the game. At least the stuff that came out saying that they wanted to work with Luka's partners or something on some kind of thing, promotional thing. I'm like, damn, you got a lot of nerve. You got a lot of balls to do that after what you've done to him. And you could clearly see. So, there was the whole lead up, the hours before him walking in, him, greeting all the people that worked at the arena, whatever that arena is called. I think it's American Airlines Arena. I don't know. Can't keep track of all the ones outside of Staples, which I still cringe at calling it crypto, but whatever. Um, just the whole lead up to it. And I wasn't quite sure what we'd see from this guy because I still don't know him. I mean, I never know him on a personal level, more than likely, but um, you get a good sense of a guy when you cover him for a while, and it's only been 2 months. So I got no idea who this guy is. I just see, like I said, like a killer on the court who just wants to rip your heart out, and then it's just very soft spoken and doesn't give you much in the media room, and that's fine. That's some players are just like that. I think Jokic is kind of the same way. Um, but anyway, so the lead up to it, they do the starting lineups for the Lakers, and then they wait till the end to introduce him, and then they do this really touching tribute video for Luka, and it took, I don't know, all of 10, 15, maybe 20 seconds, maybe less, for him to just start tearing up, and it really affected him. And then people on the broadcast put things into perspective. He was, what was he, 18, 19 when he started his career there. You're a kid. You're a kid, and sometimes we forget with these guys, these super athletes who everybody worships, and you don't think of them as an age, unless you're LeBron James and everybody tells you you're 40 every day. But with him, he's, what is he, 25, 26 now, but when he started his career, he was super young, and he was, totally fresh, like didn't have a great grasp on the English language, just enough to get by. Um, and I'm sure it was a hell of a culture shock to deal with everything that he's had to deal with. And he got through it, and he surpassed any kind of expectations for the guy really fast, unusually fast. And he became a superstar before 25, and now he's like iconic. He's known worldwide. He's arguably the best scorer in the league. He's in the conversation for the best player. I mean, I think that kind of took a seat or a back seat to Jokic and Shea, with him being hurt, after Christmas Day or whatever. But people are starting to see it again. They're like, this guy's just insane. He's just insane. But the cool thing is, I saw it. I mean, I was tearing up, and I don't even really know this guy. You know what I mean? I'm watching it. I can see the emotion on his face. You can see his eyes welling up, and then his lips shaking, and it's like everybody's been there. Everybody's been to that emotional brink where you just like you can't handle it, you can't control it. It just kind of comes out. Now, I'm a sensitive guy. It happens to me more often than most people, I think. But with him, you just saw it, and he couldn't hold it back, and he's just like, I'm gonna let it go. It's not like he was gushing tears or whatever, but it was just clearly the emotion took over, and you see, all the memories he had on that tribute, and just you put yourself in those shoes. You can't ever fully put yourself in an NBA superstar shoes, but as best you can. And it got me thinking to like back when I was 18, 19 and having a lot of fun with buddies and all the crazy stuff we would do and all the memorable moments. And if somebody showed me a tribute video of that, I would just be done. I wouldn't be able to handle it like him. And he's got a camera right in his face. Literally everyone in the arena is watching him, as well as millions and millions of people on TV. Just incredible poise. But the fact that he was able to kind of let that out, he's got the towel on his face, wiping his tears, and there weren't fake tears. And he wasn't trying to be a tough guy like some other athletes would be. Just like, oh, you can't cry, you can't cry. No, he let it go, and it was just enough, and then, I think Richard Jefferson said on the broadcast, I don't know how he's going to be able to bottle that up and focus, for the rest of the night. And then for a second there, I'm like, yeah, he might be right. I don't know how he's going to do that. That's got to be incredibly tough. Anybody that's got to deal with emotion, like, I remember, I'm not going to get into that, but because then I'm going to get emotional. I was going to say, okay, I was working at Clutch Points, and I got a phone call, and I was told that my mom had cancer. She's still going strong today, and this was 6 years ago, right? And I was in the middle of a work day, and I couldn't leave, and I didn't want to tell anybody. I just wanted to bottle it all up and go back to work. And I don't know how the hell I held on. I really don't. I'm sure the guys saw it, and they just didn't want to say anything. I told them eventually when I could handle telling somebody. But for him to go out and do that, and he struggled a little bit, just a little bit in the beginning, and then he just turned on Luka mode, Luka crazy mode. And I have never seen, I'd say probably the only experience that I have witnessed an opponent's crowd rooting for the star of the other team, like openly and like cheering them on with every basket, was probably Kobe's, farewell tour. And when he would get going on a certain night, I mean, he didn't have a lot of those nights that season. It was pretty rough, but I mean, the 60-point game was incredible, but that was at home. That was given that people were going to go crazy. But just Kobe had that kind of effect. He just he get MVP chance at the free throw line at away arenas, which is crazy. It's just wild. How what kind of level you got to be on to do that? You know what I mean? To win over people, especially guys that are people have a bone to pick with. Like, especially Kobe was just a different animal, right? He pissed people off. He rubbed people the wrong way. And then there's Luka, who seems to be well liked by everybody, but the referees, I guess you'd say. That technical foul, the second one, was rescinded, by the way. One of the most ridiculous technical fouls I've ever seen, and the league rescinded it pretty early today, or like midday. And I thought that was, I mean, cool. I'm glad they did it, but the damage is done. So like, well, what's the difference? What is that going to do? Is that going to give the Lakers another win in the win column? No, it's not going to do shit, anything. It's just going to be like, okay, yeah, well, you were wrong and you admitted it. But I'd love to hear that JT or guy, come out with a statement saying, yes, I was clearly wrong or whatever, or him get fined for a mistake. Whatever. I mean, I totally forgot about that until just this moment. But because just everything, so much has happened since then. But Luka, picks himself up, gets back into Luka mode, and just goes insane. scores 31 points in the first half. That's the most he's done as a Laker, right? And then little slow start to the second half. Kind of tends to happen with Luka. He kind of just goes off in the first half, and then either tries to get everybody else involved in the second half, or just backs off a little bit. But I mean, he picked it up again, and then ended up with 45 points in the end, and chants from the crowd when he was at the line. Fired Nico chants were going all night long, which is insane. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I think that's a new experience for me. But just the fact that this guy got so much love and respect and heartache from those fans, I really felt for them. I'm like, even though watching the tribute video, I'm getting upset. I'm like, I don't know this guy, and he's playing for the team that I covered that I've loved ever since I was a kid. Why am I getting upset about this? And it's just because it humanized the guy, right? It made him into, just like everybody else, just like one of us, but just with an incredible talent that we all wish we had, at least basketball fans. But it was touching. It was touching to see that, and then to see him go off and be Luka and have the most points he's had as a Laker so far, and still be red hot. You know what I mean? And lead the team to a win, which as a result, the Lakers have clinched a playoff spot officially, and they can drop no lower than the 6th seed. So that means the play-in tournament is kaput for the Lakers for the moment, right? See what happens next year and beyond. But for right now, they just going to be waiting for their opponent. They've got 2 regular season games left, one against Houston in LA on Friday, and then one in Portland against the Trailblazers on Sunday, which is an early game. So if you guys are even interested in watching that, you're going to have to tune in early. But thankfully, it's a Sunday. For most of you that don't work, I'm working, which sucks. So I'll be watching while I'm working, just like I did tonight. But anyway, and then we'll see how it shapes up, because things are gonna go up and down. I think so. You got OKC and Houston are set at 1 and 2, right? And then it's looking like the Lakers are going to be 3, but things can change over the next couple of days. With just the margin for error being like 1 or 2 games between teams. So, but if I were to bet money on it, I'd definitely pick the Lakers to be the 3 seed. I think Houston. I think today, was it today or yesterday? They rested pretty much. No, I think it was today. They rested all their guys, or they are resting, and the game could be going on right now. I don't know. But covering for RotoWire earlier, like it was just like Amen Thompson, Dylan Brooks, Van Vliet, all those guys, Jabari Smith, all their like notable dudes outside of like Jalen Green, were out, right? And most of them was for rest purposes. Or half of them at least, and I think the other ones are rest purposes, but they have an injury designation that they can just carry over, right? So they don't get too much shit. Which, even though everybody knows that's exactly what they're doing, they have no incentive to win any more games. Just keep people healthy. So there's that. The Houston game, which the Lake. I mean, it all depends, honestly. What's how the rest of the night goes in the West, and then Thursday, obviously, and then Friday, because the Lakers games are always like the last game of the day when they're in LA. So they'll probably have a good idea. I just realized that's going to suck for me, because the Lakers will be waiting it out, and they probably won't submit their injury report until the last second just to see if it's worth resting their guys, which I would assume it is. I think the Lakers B team can easily beat Portland. I don't think that's a problem, unless there's a freak breakout by like Simmons or Simons or whatever the hell you say his name, Anthony Simons, who's pretty good too. I actually like the guy's game, but they've been decimated by injuries, and I'm betting in the next couple of days, most of those guys can be ruled out for the season, like Scoot Henderson, Jeremy Grant for sure. He's missed a ton of games. Aiden. So it's all guys like G League guys, and Houston. I don't know what we're going to see from them, but it won't be a full strength team for sure. So these two games could be a wash in a sense, and then we're just waiting to see who the first round opponent is. Uh, but the job is done. There's a weird glare coming in here. I don't know why it's doing that. But anyway, promising sign. I love what happened tonight. I think it was so cool because it was all about Luka. It was all for Luka. AD, on the other hand, I feel kind of bad for because he couldn't really get going. See what he ended up with here. Uh, shit, that's worse than I thought. 13 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists in 33 minutes. He just it was one of those off nights offensively for AD. It just wasn't happening, right? It was Najee Marshall that was doing the damage offensively, and he only scored 23 points. I will say the only concerning thing I saw was when they face a big team like this, and these guys are huge because they got Derek Lively, um, Davis, and Gafford, right? And those guys they're giants, man, and they do damage, and they did some damage tonight. Not crazy damage because Lively's only still trying to get himself back because he missed a ton of games. Well, I think it was with a severe ankle sprain. But that's the only concern. But that's besides the point. Like I said, this was all about Luka, and it was a hit. It was exactly what we all wanted to see. We wanted to see the fans giving him respect, no booze, no bullshit, and him, being able to walk out of that arena with his head held high, like, hey, look, I just showed them exactly what they're missing and exactly what they gave up, you know. Um, and he was incredible, man. He was just incredible. He surprises me night in, night out. And I'm going to keep saying it. I think he just reminds me so much of Kobe. It's that same kind of like the shots that he makes. You're just like, holy shit, he's gonna put that up, and then it's like a perfect swish, and you're just like, that confidence level is just something different. It's just different. It's special. The guy is special. He is he's a unique talent, and I'm so glad that he's on the Lakers for hopefully the next 10 years, 10 plus years, or whatever it is. I hope they lock this guy up to the max as soon as they possibly can, or it works for both sides, the most amount of money going to Luka or whatever. And he gets a shitload of endorsement deals on top of what he already has. And, banks it, gets happy in LA because he clearly, you could tell, he's really got a soft spot for Dallas, and understandably so. It's like your hometown, wherever you grew up. If you don't live there anymore, you're always going to have a soft spot in there, unless you had a bad experience, which happens. But I'd say more often than not, people, have a soft spot, and, they just memories on every corner kind of thing. And I'm sure that's exactly how it was for him. He even said something after or in the post game. He's like, I think it was Lisa Salters asking him on the court. So what was one of the things you took away from today or something like that, or that you wanted to happen? He's, well, I just glad I get to sleep in my own bed. And it's one of those things you totally forget about what trades do to players and peoples and family, he hasn't been in his own bed for 2 months. 2 months. I mean, I'm sure his living space is probably top of the line. He can afford it. But think about that. Think about that. Just, I mean, even if you go to like a luxury resort, right, for a week, if you ever experienced that, or just, a nice place for a long time, you miss your bed, you miss your house, you miss your things. It's just natural. It's human. And then we just totally glance over that. Like we don't think about it. Like, I hate to say it like this, but we don't act like they're human. We don't act like they have the same feelings, the same, things that they deal with on a daily basis, or something as simple as just being away from something so comforting as your home. It was his home for 7 years, long time, I don't know if it's that house that he just recently bought, right, for 20 million or whatever it was, which made it that much more of a dick move by Dallas if they knew that. I mean, not saying they're not gonna do their business because somebody bought a expensive thing, but to not give them a heads up, you know what I mean? Like, this is our intention or whatever. But That's over and done with. Whatever. I'm just saying, like the home part of it, the being human. I mean, he's still young, so emotions are a lot fresher, and uh, things can cut a little bit deeper when you're a kid. He's a kid, essentially, still a kid. I know he's got a wife and a kid, but he's still a kid. At least in my eyes, he's still a kid. So he's still going through those kind of things, and that's tough. That I just there was a ton of things today that I'm looking at, and I just looked at him a little bit differently in a good way. In a good way. Like I said, it humanized him, and I thought that was really cool. It made me respect him, that much more. And the fact that he was able to get emotional, and he clearly has love for Dallas. I'm just hoping that carries over to LA at some point. I'm sure it'll take a while, but he seems to like where he's at. He just, that'll just be a home away from home, I guess. Um, but regardless, all good things. 45 from Luka. The team was okay. I mean, Austin Reeves, I think, had 11 points, which is the first time I've seen that in a long time. I can't remember the last time he had such a small point total. But I think LeBron chipped in with 27. Um, didn't get great games from everybody else, though. I think Rui had 15. That wasn't bad. I think it was his best game since he's returned, maybe close to it. Um, but like I said, it doesn't matter. It's all positive. Playoff spot, they're not going to go in the plan. That scenario is gone. It's out the window. So now it's just a waiting game, and hopefully they get 2 wins, if not just one, because I think all they needed was 2 out of the last 3 to lock in that 3 seed. And if you think of it like that, right? If that is what they're thinking, um, and I don't know what this, like I said, the scenarios are changing like every day or every 12 hours. It's crazy. I've never seen it like this. So I don't know how that's going to shake up. But if that is what they're posed with, like we just need one more win to get that 3 seed, then yes, the game against Houston, it's going to be all reserves. It's going to be Trey Jemison starting center. Jordan Goodwin. Even though Goodwin's a great player, but Shake Milton, stuff like that. The guys like that who are rarely see the floor, or they don't see it like the rest of the guys, the notable guys. And then they go all out in Portland and try to, probably crush them in the first half, and then cruise in the second half, which I think could happen pretty easily against that team. But they're kind of sneaky good. What I mean? They're not great. They've got a couple more years to go, but I think they're improving. They just don't have a lot of guys. A lot of their guys, right? Like if they don't have Scoot and Jeremy Grant, I think that's enough right there to say that that's a loss. But they got others. I'm not going to butcher their names because there are a couple ones that are tough to pronounce, but there are a few guys like I said, Anthony Simons, he's pretty damn good. And some other guys, I'm not gonna try it because I know I'm gonna butcher it. But they've got guys that can ball, but it's all about motivation and what they're doing, and who knows, maybe they even decide to shut guys down for that game in particular, because that'll be it. And it's an early game, so it's another weird like mid-afternoon game. I think like 1:30. I think it's 1:30 or 12:30. It's around there. So basically just in the middle of the day. Like so anyway, all good, all positive, moving forward, clinched playoff spot. Luka's happy. Luka just showed Dallas who their daddy is for now. Feel bad for AD, but hey, he's on a different team now, so got to move on. But until then, until the next game, and we see how this shapes up in the playoff, in the Western Conference. I'll see you then.